What truly unfolds when Space Marines clash with orcs amid the chaos of war? I commit this account in my dying instants, hoping my chapter draws wisdom from my shortcomings. The ash on Carthos Prime descends without cease, drifting down like the gentlest flakes, misleading in its mildness as it builds up on our shoulder guards and within our power armor's mechanisms. My cogitators estimate a 73% drop in servo motor performance following just 6 hours of contact. The Iron Fathers would surely disapprove. The mechanism demands upkeep, yet I have neglected it. 10 days. 10 days from when the drop pods tore into the skies. 10 days since the Iron Hand's 5th Company arrived on this forsaken, emperor-blighted planet. Our objectives stood straightforward. Safeguard the Prometheum processing plants in the southern regions, purge the greenskin plague, set up an advance outpost for the broader offensive. Straightforward, rational, a duty fitting for the heirs of Ferrus Manus. Brother Captain Drez's words still resonate over the Vox. Unix quotatio. Core tenets, principles I've embraced since joining the chapter. I trusted them once. Doubt creeps in now. My unit formed part of Strike Team Delta. We landed along the eastern edge, charged with claiming the elevated terrain of the Ash Dunes. 12 veteran warriors under my lead, everyone a seasoned fighter. Each had substituted large sections of their frail organic parts with unyielding machinery. I carry 6 primary implants myself, encompassing my right arm from the socket onward and both legs from the knees downward. My left eye came after the Tyranid conflict on Straton 4. Adamantium mesh fortifies my lungs. My heart's vital signs connect straight to my armor's machine spirit, the flawless union of mechanical excellence and enhanced humanity. We stood prepared. The opening surge of greenskins hit prior to first light. My upgraded senses detected their advance 3 minutes and 27 seconds ahead of their appearance over the crest. A roaring horde of verdant bulk and rough-hewn arms, their outlines stark against the pale dawn. I recall tallying them. 137 orcs in that first rush. My bolter felled 9. Brother. This notched 12. Brother Chaos, handling our heavy armament, felled 23 via the heavy bolter prior to their arrival at our lines. Routine battlefield output. We maintained control of the height. As the haze dispersed and the bolter roars subsided, 89 orc remains sprawled across the incline below. 3 squad members endured slight armor impairments. Brother Erzin caught a superficial strike from a rough axe, its edge embedding in his shoulder plate without breaching the ceramite layer underneath. Light losses, tolerable results. That marked 10 days past. Today I remain isolated upon this identical elevation, encircled by countless greenskin cadavers, my fallen comrades strewn interspersed. My armor bears breaches in 17 spots. My bionic limb lags by 1.35 seconds, rendering accurate aiming unfeasible. Ammo stocks linger at 12%. Both my combat blades have vanished, buried in orc hides whose bearers I'll never identify. The Vox has stayed mute for 26 hours and 14 minutes. Death awaits me here. The notion surprises. Space Marines drill to embrace demise in the Emperor's name. We embody his Deathbringers, his superhuman champions. Our role is defined. We execute it unquestioningly. Still, the implants in my cranium detect a surging pulse rate. My flesh eye flutters hastily as the mechanical one holds steady, sweeping the skyline. Bodily reactions mirroring what humans term terror. Intolerable. I recite the litany of endurance mentally, striving to steady my functions. It yields nothing. Stirrings along the western path. My bionic vision magnifies on its own, spotting a cluster of greenskins massing for fresh onslaught. Habit prompts a count. 212. Adaptation marks them. Successive assaults swell in numbers. Strikes grow more synchronized. These primal creatures refine their strategies. I inspect my bolter. 27 shots left. Inadequate. The chainsword holds fuel for roughly 30 minutes of non-stop use. Likewise wanting, I evaluate choices with cold calculation. None promise my endurance. Reason urges engaging the armor's auto-destruct. Withhold from foes the gene seed harvestable from my remains. The pragmatic decision, the mechanical one. Yet a remnant of my organic core resists this verdict. I am Brother Sergeant Vin of the Iron Hands. I have devoted 143 Terran years to the Emperor's cause. Battles across 87 planets lie in my wake. 7,413 verified enemies lie slain by my hand. I channel the Emperor's fury incarnate, and surrender eludes my grasp. The orcs advance at last, a verdant surge sweeping the ashen wastes. They unleash guttural battle roars, a din of savage noises that taxes my helm's sound suppressors to mute. Their arms lift high, a thicket of serrated steel glinting under Carthos Prime's glow. The fading light of the sun casts long shadows across the ridge. The orcs are just 300 meters from my vantage point, advancing with alarming speed. I rise to my feet, disregarding the alerts flickering on my helmet's interface. Lifting my bolter, I train its sights on the biggest brute among them, a colossal figure almost double the height of its comrades. Undoubtedly their chieftain, the war boss in their barbaric speech. Iron within, I murmur, the phrase issuing as a distorted hum from my helmet speaker. No companion remains to reply with the ritual iron without. Solitude envelops me. Now they're at 200 meters. The rough symbols daubed on their plating come into view. Patched together scraps pilfered from the gear of my slain kin. One sports a Space Marine helm as a twisted prize, the former proud Aquila now marred by orcish scrawls. Rage should surge at such blasphemy. A programmed outrage, directed into peak battle performance, would be the expected reaction. Yet, emptiness prevails. An icy detachment seeps from my implants into my surviving organic tissue. Is this the reward foretold by the Iron Fathers, the vaunted might of machinery? At 100 meters, their feral odor pierces my helmet's filters. The earth quakes beneath their onslaught. Their bellows blend into a unified savage howl that rattles the atmosphere itself. My mind drifts to my fellow Iron Hands, not only those lost on this elevated ground, but the entire chapter. Do they err in pursuing the unyielding flawlessness of the machine? Or does my doubt mark me as defective in these last instants? 50 meters, individual features sharpen, fanged maws wide in ecstatic shrieks, crimson gazes alight with the raw thrill of slaughter. These brutish Xenos thrive in this chaos. They embody conflict in a manner surpassing even us Space Marines. Our battles serve obligation, the Emperor, mankind's survival. Theirs stem from an innate compulsion to clash. 25 meters. I engage the chainsword. Its furious snarl rises against the orcish war chants. The buzz courses through my flesh and blood limb, and in a flash of insight, I sense it. The heft of the blade, the roughness of its handle, the faint shifts in its motor's tone, impressions my bionic limb could never convey. 10 meters. I switch the bolter to single fire mode. 27 rounds remaining. 27 foes to drop before they close the gap. I target. I shoot. Combat erupts. The initial bolt strikes the front runner's neck, exploding within its dense cranium in a burst of verdant gore and shattered bone. The next pair of shots claim comparable vital spots on the followers. Exact eliminations, my engineered purpose. But their numbers overwhelm. They surge past the casualties like water bypassing rocks, hardly decelerating. I discharge the bolter in steady cadence. Every projectile hits true. Every target crumples. Yet the horde presses on. The magazine runs dry with a click. 27 orcs slain. 185 more thundering forward. I secure the bolter via maglock and assume a guarding posture with the chainsword. My augmetic arm computes the ideal trajectory to parry the initial strike. The first to arrive lacks an eye, a jagged scar tracing from brow to chin. Its soul orb flickers with wild cunning. It heaves a gigantic axe in a downward sweep that could cleave me from crown to crotch on impact. With superhuman reflexes, I evade, the blade whistling past by mere inches, then counter with a sideways sweep that amputates the orc's arm at the joint. Emerald ichor splatters my plate as the creature roars, fury eclipsing agony. Before it regains balance, I pivot the chainsword upward, ramming it through the Xenos' mandible and into its skull. The monster convulses, then slumps. I shove the corpse aside, wheeling to face the subsequent assailant. They assault in a surge, 3 orcs converging at once. My bionic optic overlays vulnerabilities in their shoddy defenses, assessing death chances with detached accuracy. I adapt seamlessly, the chainsword merging with my form. a whirlwind of unyielding fangs that shreds verdant meat and makeshift iron alike. One collapses, torso rent from throat to gut. Another forfeits its skull outright, the blade snagging at the exact seam of mandible and nape. The last grazes me with a barbed mace. The jolt logs as trivial harm to my left pauldron. I dispatch it via direct lunge into its right orbital. The chainsword serrations pulverize its cerebrum amid a spray of entrails as I yank the weapon free. For 2 minutes and 43 seconds, I sustain peak fighting capacity. My actions remain exact, efficient, fatal. The chainsword fells 17 additional greenskins. My augmetic fist pulverizes another's trachea. I dash a diminutive orc's head against a rock. I embody the Emperor's vengeance. I am mortality given form. Then a shift occurs. An orc surpassing the rest in bulk, its hide a deeper verdant hue, forces its way through the throng. It wields an enormous double-grip maul thrumming with erratic power, a power weapon surely plundered from a deceased brother's arsenal. In its rough grasp, the esteemed armament, it appears grotesque. Quote 1. It bellows, its rumble richer and clearer than typical for its brutish race. Quote 2. The surrounding orcs retreat, arranging themselves into a rough ring encircling us. Maybe some barbaric notion of fairness or just their thrill for the show. Doesn't matter. The massive orc smirks, exposing tusks capped in dull metal that catch the dying sunlight. I am Nob Grimscar, it declares, pounding its chest with one unoccupied fist. Me gonna be the one who finishes off that final tin can? You. I stay silent. Chatter's pointless with Xeno's scum. Better to study my foe. Bulkier than average orcs, though not quite a warlord yet. Bulging muscles point to battle-hardened years and plenty of victories. That power hammer poses the real danger, able to smash through even Astartes' plating on a solid strike. I lift my chainsword in defiance. The orc lets out a thunderous bellow and rushes ahead, closing the gap quicker than expected. The hammer descends in a crushing overhead swing. I twist to the side, sensing the rush of wind as it grazes past by mere fractions of an inch. Retaliating, I carve into the orc's open side, the blade sinking in deep. Yet orcs endure like few others. A gash that had dropped most foes flat barely draws a grunt from Grimscar as it whips the hammer sideways. I drop low to evade, but it reads the move, slamming its knee into my helm with jarring power. Alerts blaze on my visor. Slight head injury. No hindrance to fighting capacity. I tumble away, gaining room to evaluate. This beast moves swifter than its size implies. It drives onward. The hammer carves glowing arcs of static through the air. Every lash compels me to yield terrain. Each close shave triggers alerts in my suit's diagnostics. For 1 minute and 12 seconds, we weave this deadly ballet. I score 3 additional strikes with the chainsword, each spilling verdant ichor, yet none hampers the creature's momentum. The orc clips my left pauldron with the hammer's edge. The blow splinters the ceramite and fires neural jolts from the link to my flesh and blood shoulder. Why struggle like that, Yumi? The orc queries in a brief pause. You're done for. Every one of your iron kin lies broken. I answer with a stab toward its neck. It blocks using the hammer's shaft and chuckles, a resonant bark that delights the encircling greenskins. Quote 7. The orc's mangled twist on the iron hand's holy creed offends deeply, but Yiranchun quote Ae. With those words, it unleashes a fresh barrage. The hammer turns into a frenzy of strikes. I block, weave, and riposte where I can, but its taunt achieves what blows couldn't. It breaches my guard. Flesh is weak, our order's foundational tenet, and these raw embodiments of meat and feral drive have crushed us, slain my squad, driven me to near ruin. What truth does that reveal about our creed? This flicker of doubt exacts a steep price. My reflexes lag by 0.3 seconds, an age in battle. The power hammer tags my right flank. Even a brush proves ruinous. I sense my armor's plating crumple, sense the cybernetic tether of my right limb rip from living tissue. Alarms overwhelm my display as the arm shuts down, dangling limp. The chainsword slips from numb grasp. I falter, servos straining to offset the harm. The orc spots the opening and surges in. hammer poised for the fatal descent. In a last gambit, I surge within the hammer's path. My left gauntlet, hiding organic fingers, clamps the orc's windpipe. Enhanced sinews crush with every ounce of leftover might. The orc's eyes protrude. It releases the hammer to claw at my limb with both paws, its power immense even while gasping. I register the gauntlet's ceramite fracturing under strain, feel my hand's bones starting to snap. We remain entwined, each trapped, each refusing surrender. The onlookers erupt in cheers, battering rough arms against scavenged barriers in a thunderous beat. My suit blares alerts non-stop, energy reserves near empty. System collapses loom. The ruined augmetic limb has sparked chain reactions across my frame. Even if I outlast this clash, odds of enduring another half hour dwindle to nothing. The orc's hold slackens slightly as lack of air starts to tell on its tough frame. I pour on more force, tuning out the agony as additional fractures form in my grip. The beast's gaze starts to glaze. Triumph nears. Then comes the unforeseen. The orc grins amid its airless haze. It locks eyes with me, radiating savage bliss. It's perishing, aware of it. But perishing in the fray, armed and matched against a true rival. For a greenskin like that, no end could be more fitting. The thought hits me harder than I expect. The orc's hide gleefully accepts its fate, clings to it, draws purpose from it. Yet here I am, offspring of the Gorgon, enhanced by mechanical flawlessness, dreading the doom closing in on me. The twist of it all leaves a sour taste. I hunt for a term like, "9." Drawing on my last reserves of power, I snap the orc's throat with utter finality. Its grin holds steady even as the spark drains from its gaze. As I let go, the hulking frame crashes onto the soot-strewn earth. With my one working hand, I snatch back my chainsaw. The ring of observing orcs falls quiet. Their small brains churn over the surprising turn, shifting eyes from their defeated hero to me. Suddenly, they all burst into laughter, not the jeering cackle of triumph, but a raw salute from a race that reveres might most of all. They've seen a worthy clash, a clean dispatch. In their rough manner, they're paying respects to both the slain warrior and myself. The biggest among the leftover orcs lumbers ahead, draped in a sloppy imitation of an imperial officer's uniform atop its jumbled plating, including what looks like a naval captain's cap jammed awkwardly atop its enormous skull. It declares, "Dat was right, Scrap." "Metal Yumi," it calls me, eyeing the downed brute. "Grimcar was me top knob. Now he done, and you still up." It pins me with a crimson glare. "Boss wants scrap with you now. Dawer boss." The orc pack spreads out wider, the greenskins retreating in clear deference. Beyond their line, I catch the thud of massive strides, the grind of steel on steel, the guttural hum of shoddy engines straining. My implants detect the looming danger before my flesh eye spots it. Readings show bulk matching a heavily upgraded orc build. Power traces hint at scavenged generators aplenty. Thermal spikes signal live armaments. The crowd splits open, and that's when I grasp how my kin perished, why Carthos Prime crumbled. The war boss towers at almost 4 meters, though its sheer bulk isn't what stalls me. It's the greenskins' handiwork on their chieftain. While typical orcs slap on rough prosthetics or pilfer gear, this beast has undergone deep overhauls. Its right limb sports a plundered sentinel's multi-laser, the gun dwarfed in the giant's hold but no less lethal. The left terminates in a gigantic power claw, fizzing with erratic force. One limb is pure machine. The rough pistons wheeze with every stride. Its skull hides inside a steel casing, echoing an Imperial Knight's visor. A lone crimson optic gleams where the left orb ought to sit. It's a grotesque parody of all the Iron Hands hold sacred. A barbaric alien stab at merging meat and metal. Still, as it barrels my way, I can't ignore its brutal efficiency. EA Wabos Mixmasha, the abomination booms, its words rasping through a vox grill embedded in its armored mandible. "You scrapped me, boys. Proper. Now you scraps with me." I flick my gaze to my limp augmetic limb, to the alerts blinking on my helm's readout, to the chainsaw gripped tight, its tanks nearly empty. Reason demands surrender. Victory lies beyond reach. But I am Brother Sergeant Vaughn of the Iron Hands. My tone holds firm amid the chaos. By the Emperor and Ferrus Manus, I take up your duel. The encircling orcs explode in a roar of hoots and savage bets. The war boss tenses its power claw, the aura flaring brighter. Quote 11. It grunts, then it lunges. The multi-lacer on its limb spins up as it rushes. I roll aside, a lance of pure light searing the spot I'd occupied. My chainsaw howls as I surge in, targeting a weak spot in the orc's makeshift chest guard. The war boss moves with startling speed for such mass. Its power claw arcs low, blocking my strike. Unbreakable teeth clash against the field in a burst of flares and a wail of mangled alloy. We're jammed fast for an instant. The saw bucks against the claw. Then, the barrier shears the blade's edge. The tool coughs, falters, and quits, bisected neatly. I hurl aside the dead handle and spring back, dodging the claw's vicious follow-through by a hair. Weaponless, one side crippled, plate breached, I confront the end. The war boss senses it as well. It prowls closer now, relishing the kill. "You metal gits reckon you fancy," it mocks, the vox adding a hollow echo. Chopping off your limbs, stuffing iron in your skulls. It prods its own cybernetic optic with a talon. Orc's been doing that since forever. Only diff is, we like it. I retreat, stealing breaths, eyes darting for any scrap that could turn the tide. A tool, a edge. There's nothing left but ash, stone, and the corpses of the fallen. The flesh is frail, the war boss declares, echoing our holy teachings with surprising precision. That's what you humans keep claiming. But you're mistaken. The multi-laser hums to life once more, building power. Tar flesh isn't frail. Tar flesh is entertaining. The blast erupts forward. I try to evade it, but my impaired mechanisms react with agonizing delay. The ray strikes my left limb, melting the ceramite plating and the prosthetic underneath in a flash of molten alloy. I collapse. My suit's balance protocols can't adjust for the abrupt amputation. Agony surges through my neural links. Alerts flood my visor. Power armor malfunctioning. Vital systems at risk. Severe harm across vital components. The machine's unyielding calculations tell me demise is seconds away. The war boss looms above, its hulking silhouette eclipsing the heavens. The power claw lowers gradually toward my torso, its energy buzzing with lethal intent. "Got any final remarks, Tin Humi?" It inquires, almost courteously. My mind drifts to the Iron Fathers and their tireless pursuit of mechanical purity. I recall the ceremonies and creeds, the methodical substitution of tissue with circuitry. I consider the chill that has settled inside me over the years, the steady erosion of feelings except for fury. I remember my fallen comrades on this forsaken planet of the Emperor, their enhancements as pointless as their belief in machines' dominance. And I picture the orc brute perishing with a grin on its savage mug. "The flesh," I murmur via malfunctioning speakers, "isn't frailty." The war boss cocks its cybernetic skull, seemingly intrigued. "Come again?" I refuse to let it witness my terror. Using my surviving flesh and blood arm, I unfasten the latch on my helm. The soot-laden atmosphere of Carthos Prime rushes into my senses, harsh and searing. I yank the helmet off, dropping it beside me in the dirt. I gaze upward at the war boss through my uneven eyes, one natural, one mechanical. I hold steady. I offer no pleas. I am an Adeptus Astartes, a space marine forged by the Emperor. I'll perish as I endured, honorably and meaningfully. The flesh, I repeat, my tone firmer now, born by my natural voice instead of synthetic emitters, isn't frailty. The flesh senses. The flesh experiences delight, suffering, dread, and victory. The flesh exists, truly thrives, in a manner no machine ever could. That's not frailty. That's what makes us human. The war boss regards me for an extended pause. Then it tilts its head back and bellows with laughter. A thunderous noise, blending guttural growl and electronic crackle, pure orc fashion. When the chuckles fade, it adds, "Perhaps you Tin Humies aren't all that dissimilar after all." The power claw plunges down. I sense the field unraveling the atomic structure of my armor, sense the adamantium talons ripping into my main heart, functions shut down, sight blurs. The torment is overwhelming. As awareness ebbs, a last notion crosses my thoughts. I depart not as circuitry, but as a person. Maybe that's triumph sufficient. I am Brother Sergeant Vin of the Iron Hands. Honor my memory. Yet, oblivion didn't arrive. The following awareness is torment, not the sharp, calculated alerts from my implants, but visceral, primal hurt. My chief heart labors against the intruder skewering it. My backup heart pounds to make up the deficit. Blood saturates my upgraded lungs. I taste metal in my mouth. The war boss has retracted its talon, carving a jagged gash in my ribcage. It hovers nearby, studying me with evident interest. The encircling orcs quiet down, eyeing their chief with uneasy eagerness. Not quite yet, the war boss intones, its optic lens flaring as it assesses me. You'll croak when I decide, Humie. I attempt to reply, but crimson foam spills from my mouth rather than speech. The war boss signals, and a pair of lesser orcs edge forward warily. They hoist me with unexpected gentleness, careful around the injury in my torso. My armor's mass poses no challenge to them. These greenskins possess more strength than their crude forms suggest. Haul him to the base, the war boss orders. Stash him with the UVR-1s. The others? That hint sparks a surge in my waning mind. Are there fellow survivors? Other Iron Hands taken prisoner instead of slain? Optimism defies reason here. It defies logic. Still, it stirs within me. The orcs haul me along the ash slope, their steps jolting every injury. I drift between awareness and blackout, my fortified body battling to sustain life amid ruinous trauma. During clearer intervals, I survey the landscape. The orc settlement stretches across the basin ahead, a disordered sprawl of makeshift shelters pieced from looted scraps, rusted sheets, synthetic sheets, fragments of Imperial transports and structures, and even more horrifying remnants of Astartes gear woven into barriers and frames. My kin repurposed as mere construction fodder. We move past groups of runt orcs occupied in baffling behaviors unfold around me. Certain ones seem locked in pointless brawls with one another. Some fiddle with pilfered guns and transports. A cluster huddles near what resembles a campfire, grilling flesh I dare not name. The orcs hauling me head toward a building bigger than the rest, marked by rough red markings daubed on its facade. Some kind of healing outpost, I suppose. The idea strikes me as both terrifying and ridiculous. Green-skinned brutes don't heal like the Imperium's folk do. Within, the reek assaults me immediately. Blood from humans and orcs alike, waste, charred tissue, unidentified toxins. My upgraded senses, usually a boon, now torment me relentlessly. I'd retch if my form hadn't lost that urge long ago. The space glows faintly from sputtering light orbs, probably snatched from Imperial outposts. In this shaky illumination, I discern forms that resist easy understanding. Benches laden with medical tools, many encrusted in old gore, jars brimming with mysterious liquids, and worst of all, vats holding floating tissue masses fizzing for reasons beyond knowing. Quote 12, growls a voice from the gloom, not the war boss but a lesser orc, its tone sharper and thinner. Quote 13, my bearers pivot, affording me a glimpse of the room's distant wall. Lined up there in sequence are 5 space marines, my comrades. They're bound to rough iron scaffolds, their plates stripped away in spots to bare skin and implants. Hoses and cables link them to basic devices that clank and hum. Each bears marks of severe wounds. Each seems out cold. No, not quite. The last one, his features clear in the faint glow, has his eyes alert. I know him, Brother Sivos, our expert in heavy arms. His stare locks with mine as the orcs strap me to a vacant frame next to his. Quote 14, he murmurs, the sound faint even to my sharpened ears. Quote 15. Quote 16, I reply, forcing the words past fluid-choked lungs. Others lie senseless, maybe in forced slumbers. Quote 17. The realization chills my veins deeper than any implant's chill ever could. Orc healing carries ill fame across the Imperium. Savage, crude, yet oddly potent in its nightmarish fashion. Why, I demand? Why spare our lives? Brother Sivos tries for a grin, but on his ruined visage it twists into a scowl. The war boss obsesses over our implants, over our order's zeal for swapping meat with metal. It senses a bond. The notion reeks of sacrilege, of forbidden paths, yet I can't fully reject it. The image of the war boss, its clumsy cybernetics aping our holy upgrades, surges unwanted into my thoughts. Quote, 21. I query. Quote 22. Before more words escape, a stooped shape lurches forward, an orc shorter than the fighters, draped in a gore-smeared healer smock atop its patchwork gear. Basic cutting gear dangles from a strap at its hips. Most alarming is the gadget fixed to its skull, a cluster of optics that snap over its gaze as it studies me. Fresh awake, it declares, its tone laced with eerie professional curiosity. Fine. Doc Gutria craves new bits. The orc pain boy. Then it draws near, the optics whirring as they shift. It inspects my torso gash with unsettling care. Main heart hit, it grumbles, mostly to itself. Backup runs true, clever spare setup. It jabs the injury with a grimy finger. Might swap for mech special or toss in another, 3 tops 2. Yes? Keep your hands off, Xeno scum, I snarl, though the blood trailing my curse weakens the bite. The pain boy brushes aside my resistance, pressing on with its check. It shifts to my dead implant limb, poking the join where prosthetic meets living shoulder. Weak link spot, it notes. Man's build shoddy. Orc style superior, bore right into skeleton, rivet alloy direct, stings worse, holds forever. It rumbles a laugh like grinding stones. Could mend. Could upgrade. I'd take death first, I state, summoning every ounce of resolve. For the initial time, the pain boy truly registers my voice. It peers straight into my eyes, its own peering through the enlargers on its helm. Ain't up to you, Tin Man, it says, a creepy leer baring its fangs. Boss wants you breathing. Boss wants you patched. Doc Gutdripper obeys. Its leer stretches broader. It wheels off, waddling to a table strewn with instruments and baffling machine pieces. The view stirs unease in me. Not terror, Space Marines scorn such weakness, but apprehension, the icy assurance that what's ahead looms dire. The agony ahead will surpass anything I've ever endured. Beside me, Brother Sergeant Kairos murmurs softly, "The Emperor shields us. That old chant is meant to offer solace. It fails me now." "Does he truly, brother?" I reply, my gaze fixed on the pain boy as it picks out tools of torment from its array. There's scant sign of his safeguarding in this place. Kairos goes quiet, maybe stunned by my brush with heresy, or maybe harboring the same uncertainty but too timid to admit it aloud. The pain boy comes back, laden with rough implements and mechanical bits. It lays them out on a modest table next to my binding frame, organizing them with surprising meticulousness. Next, it grabs what looks like a corroded back-and-forth blade. "Numbness?" it inquires, almost like chatting with a friend. For an instant, I wonder if it's granting a kindness. Then it chuckles. Orc humor. Numbness is for the frail. Hurt builds might. The blade whirs into action, its edges whirling with eager menace. I steel myself for torment-defying description. Yet before the edge meets my skin, chaos breaks out beyond the Medici enclosure. Yells echo, alongside blasts from primitive guns and the telltale hum of an energy blade powering up. The pain boy pauses, its skull swiveling toward the racket, the tool hanging idle in its grip, briefly ignored. "Stay put," it grunts, seemingly unaware that I'm firmly secured. It drops the jagged blade and lumbers to the flap, yanking a shabby handgun from its waist. The instant it's gone, Brother Kairos hisses with urgency. "Brother Sergeant, pay close attention. Time is short." I twist to look at him, spotting how he's subtly chafing his right wrist against the bindings, a steady if discreet effort. The pain boy grew sloppy during its work. He presses on. Quote, 37. The realization hits me at once. Every iron hand learns to commune straight with their implants, a talent honed through practice and focus, but commanding a severed prosthetic purely by mind that demands expertise rare among us. "Can you break loose?" I question. "Not outright, but observe." Kairos shuts his eyes, his features locked in deep focus. Seconds drag by with no change. Then, faintly, the prosthetic stirs. A pause follows. Another faint jerk. Suddenly, it lashes out with the full force of Astarte's pistons. The clamp on that leg splinters apart. The limb sags, dangling loosely from Kairos's flesh and blood hip, yet unbound at last. With calculated control, he swings it to smash the holds on his other leg, then his arms. Within moments, Brother Kairos rises unbound. He hurries to my side, his stride lopsided from towing the inert bionic. Swiftly, he undoes my fasteners. "Can you rise, Brother Sergeant?" I evaluate my state with stark reason. Main heart critically wounded, right arm useless, left leg gone mid-shin, armor riddled with breakdowns, fighting capacity under 15%. No, I concede, though it hardly matters. Liberate the rest if possible. Arm yourselves. Get away. Kairos refuses with a headshake. "Not leaving you behind, Brother Sergeant. That's a command, brother. Duty to the squad outweighs any one life. With all due honor, that duty crumbled days back. We're the last of 5th Company on this planet. Our task now, endure, carry news to the chapter." Before I can counter, the din of battle swells outside. Blasts shake the tent. Amid the orcish crude shots, the sharp reports of bolter rounds cut through to our heightened senses. Imperial reinforcements, I venture, optimism clashing with reason. Kairos edges to the opening, glancing out warily. He faces me again, face impassive. "Negative," he states. "Rival orc clan. Their banners differ from our jailers. Green and yellow against red and black. A greenskin feud, as usual. Orcs brawl with each other as fiercely as with outsiders. Their endless infighting is the sole barrier keeping them from devouring the stars." "This could be our sole chance," Kairos adds. Going to unbind the others, he frees them sequentially. 2 lie comatose, vital signs faint. 1 stirs but raves incoherently, reciting devotions and pleas. The final brother seems mostly whole, save for his right arm swapped with a makeshift orc prosthetic that spasms and whirs at random. "The pain boy toyed with us," he says tonelessly, rage barely contained, probing if orc tech could bond with Astartes' biology. Outcomes varied. I watch the orc limb react to his commands, fitfully at best. In different circumstances, I'd ponder the doctrinal fallout, bearing the bionics of a Ferrus Manus successor infused with Xeno's tech. At this point, my sole concern is whether it can help us break free. "Can you wield that arm in combat?" I inquire. He flexes the prosthetic digits, their motions stiff yet operational. "If it comes to that?" "It will," I assure him. "You and Brother Chaos need to acquire arms. Brother Tharnas, you'll transport me. We'll take the 2 comatose brothers along if we can, though they're not our top focus." "And Brother Menace?" Kiavos questions, gesturing toward the feverish Astartes still whispering devotions. I evaluate the warrior's state. His eyes show dilated pupils, fluid leaks from his auditory canals, brain trauma extensive and probably beyond repair, even under ideal medical care. If he can move on his own, he joins us, I rule. Otherwise, bestow upon him the Emperor's mercy, brutal, yet essential. Dragging 3 impaired comrades would doom any bid for freedom. Tharnas and Kiavos share a glance, but offer no protest. Brother Menace manages to rise with support, his actions erratic and his awareness fogged. Regrettably, the pair of unresponsive brothers stay put. Chaos delivers the Emperor's mercy with grave precision, 2 swift strikes to the vital hearts, safeguarding our fallen kin's gene seed from Xeno's clutches. With Tharnas steadying me and Kiavos steering the half-aware Menas, we advance to the exit. The clamor of warfare grows fiercer. Peering past the tent's flap, I spot greenskins clashing against their own in a frenzied brawl. Gore and limbs scatter, ramshackle transports blaze, pure savagery unfolds. "Hold," I order. A strategy crystallizes. Brother Tharnas, rummage through the dock's gear. Look for any tool that could distract or arm us. Tharnas leans me against a strut and sets to the task. He soon reappears bearing a collection of objects. Several orc sluggas, mysterious fluid containers, and, most intriguingly, what looks like a blast trigger. The dock had rigged bombs all over the site, Tharnas says, safeguard against rebellion. This ought to set them off. I grasp the device, scrutinizing it through natural and cybernetic vision. Rough-hewn, yet reliable. Classic orc craftsmanship. It could succeed. Revised strategy, I declare. We bide our time until the skirmish hits its height, then ignite the explosives. Amid the turmoil, we head to the transport yard. Should the Emperor favor us, something drivable awaits. My squad mates affirm with nods, grasping the scheme's soundness. We settle by the portal, poised for the perfect instant. The fray surges and recedes outside, but builds steadily as reinforcements pour in from rival groups. I watch the engagement with strategic calm. The aggressor orcs sport green and yellow markings, as Kiavos noted. They're generally slighter than our jailers, but outnumber them. Their rides are sleeker, quicker, with thinner plating but greater agility. An alternate approach to combat, if one can call orc methods that. As the melee crests to what I deem full frenzy, with every fighter locked in and oblivious to all else, I activate the trigger. Silence lingers briefly. A fleeting pang of doubt hits me. Then, pandemonium erupts. Blasts chain across the encampment, tents crumple, machines burst into infernos, greenskins hurl skyward, many dismembered. Our medica shelter quakes from the shockwaves but endures, built tougher than the rest. Go, I urge. We surge forth as a unit, plunging into the bedlam. Orcs bolt every which way, some aflame, ignoring 4 wounded Adeptus Astartes entirely. Haze and cinders clog the atmosphere, offering extra cover. Kiavos has scavenged basic firearms, Tharnas a battered bolter for himself, and a massive orc chopper for me. Brother Menace lurches nearby, droning incoherently but mobile. I guide them to the transport area I spotted upon arrival. Tharnas bears me on his flesh and blood side, the Xenos graft gripping the blade. My lone natural limb cradles the bolter Kiavos fetched, ammo down to 7 shots, more symbolic than useful now. End path, we cross 3 dazed orcs reeling from the blasts. Kiavos drops them with precise bolter fire, silencing any cries. The yard, upon arrival, lies in partial ruin from the detonations, yet a handful of vehicles persist undamaged. That one, I point to a plundered Imperial Chimera. The ancient beast bears orcish scrawls and hasty alterations, but its frame seems solid. Crucially, the power plant looks operational. Kiavos inspects it expertly. Fuel sufficient, motor altered but workable. The machine spirit might resent the Xenos meddling, yet it'll get us out. Brother Menas takes the lead. I follow right after, then me. Brother Tharnas, you'll handle the driving. Brother Kiavos delivers suppressive fire if things get hairy. They follow orders without hesitation, piling us into the tainted transport. Inside, the air hangs heavy with the foul odor of orcs, a reek that my augmented senses pick apart in nauseating precision. Rough alterations are everywhere, yet the core mechanisms still feel familiar. Tharnas settles into the pilot's seat, his flesh and blood hand gripping the wheel, while the crude orc prosthetic fumbles with the shifter. The motor coughs to ignition on the 3rd try, its growl delivering an odd sense of comfort. Kiavos hops in next, manning the pintle-mounted heavy stubber, an Imperial gun corrupted by Xenos touch. Quote 40. Tharnas inquires as he shifts into gear. Quote 41. The orc encampment sprawls across a basin ringed by ash drifts. Quote 42. Tharnas gives a curt nod and revs the power plant. The Chimera surges ahead, grinding a slain orc under its treads. Momentum builds as we aim for the camp's northern boundary. Briefly, freedom appears within grasp, free of more clashes. Then, a guttural orc roar cuts through the clamor of the ongoing fray. Dice de escapen! I glance back to spot the war boss mechmasher perched atop a flaming edifice. Its cybernetic optic blazes crimson amid the hazy gloom, locked onto our escaping ride. It hoists its multi-laser limb, the device humming as power builds. Dodge now, I bark. Tharnas yanks the Chimera aside right as the shot erupts. The ray slices through the spot we'd just vacated, fusing a boulder cluster into molten waste. Kiavos unleashes the stubber in reply, its massive slugs bouncing harmlessly from the war boss's plated frame. Push harder, I demand. We require separation. Tharnas urges the engine to its limits. The Chimera bellows mechanically in response, accelerating toward the camp's fringe. In our wake, the war boss snarls commands, mustering its horde even amid the feud with the enemy clan. We breach the outpost's edge. The Chimera jolts wildly over the ragged ash mounds. Each jolt ignites fresh agony in my wounded form, though I quash the impulses through honed psychic control. They're on our tail, Kiavos calls from the aft gun. 3 scout rigs, buggies or war bikes, more than I'd anticipated. Nothing surprising there. Can you pick off their pilots? Kiavos looses a salvo from the stubber. Tricky business. The mount's shaky and the sights are off kilter. Par for orc work. Make it count, Brother Tharnas. Hold top velocity. The Chimera's toughness is our sole edge against their flimsy contraptions. We tear across the ashen flats, the vehicle's tracks hurling vast plumes in our trail. The chasing orc machines edge closer. Their reduced mass and fiercer drives grant them superiority on this exposed ground. Kiavos shoots measured volleys, rationing rounds. One salvo strikes true, flipping an orc warbike into a dazzling wreck. The rest press on, now near enough for their guttural motors to pierce our own thunder. Quote 52. Kiavos alerts. Ya quote 53. Quote 54. I direct. Quote 55. Both confirm, without delay. Through the narrow viewport, I track the orc buggies surging forward, one veering to either flank of our Chimera. They're so proximate now that the green-skinned gunners on their makeshift mounts come into view, fanged jaws gaping in silent howls drowned by the din. Go, I order. Tharnas wrenches the controls sharply right, barreling straight at the nearing buggy. The orc handler, braced for a swerve, freezes in shock. The Chimera's massive hull collides with the frail machine, hurling it into a wild spin. I catch a flash of orcs ejecting from the tumbling frame before it erupts in a gratifying blaze. Quote 57. I declare, though the turn has bled our pace. Quote 58. True enough, the surviving buggy recalibrates, hugging our rear where our bulk's sluggish handling tells most. Its prow cannon, a crude autocannon variant, belches fire. Shells pepper rounds of enemy fire, glance harmlessly off the back plating of our Chimera. The armor plating endures for the moment, Kiavos announces while unleashing counterfire. Yet the attackers are zeroing in on the power plant. A solid strike on a key component, and he trails off without needing to elaborate. Lacking the Chimera, our odds of making it out alive plummet to practically nothing. Any ideas? I inquire, my strategic instincts rapidly assessing and rejecting potential courses. Brother Menace, quiet save for his low chance of devotion since our getaway, breaks his silence with surprising sharpness. The waterway, he declares, gesturing toward the front viewport. That ash stream. I trace his motion and spot it, a shadowy ribbon slicing through the ashen expanse before us. Not liquid water, but a sluggish current of partially liquefied ash born from the volcanic unrest that defines Carthos Prime's rugged landscape. Such ash streams creep along at a leisurely pace, yet generate enough thermal energy to soften even ceramite given enough time. Is a traversal feasible? I question, unsure if Menace's idea stems from sharp insight or his fractured psyche. Thus examines the nearing landmark. The Chimera could probably handle it if the current isn't overly profound. Its treads offer superior grip compared to the orc speeder's tires, a deliberate gamble. Very well, proceed, brother. Guide us over. Thus alters our trajectory, aiming straight for a stretch of the Ash River that seems slightly less broad than the adjacent currents. The chasing orc speeder trails us, either oblivious to the peril or assured of its capacity to surmount the hazard. As we near the stream, the warmth seeps through the Chimera's hull. Heat alerts flicker on my helmet's readout. The transport decelerates while thus evaluates the entry spot. Prepare for intense warmth and treacherous footing, he cautions, then revs the motor. The Chimera surges ahead into the ash torrent. At once, alarm signals blare across the interior. The compartment's heat surges upward. The treads claw at the viscous substance fighting for hold. For a pulse-pounding instant, I fear we'll get bogged down in the stream, doomed as the temperatures eat away at the shell. Then, the treads catch firm, and we edge onward, tortuously gradual, but advancing all the same. The Chimera creaks under the pressure, its drive thundering at full throttle. Via the aft viewport, I watch the orc speeder hesitate at the current's brink, its pilot evidently second-guessing the chase. They're pulling away, Kiavos states with dour approval. True enough, the orc machine retreats, hunting for a detour, though our triumph proves fleeting. Past the speeder, a massive plume of dust races closer. With my enhanced optics zoomed in, I pinpoint the origin. A plundered Imperial Lehman rust tank, crudely augmented with orc contraptions. Atop it looms a recognizable silhouette, the war boss, Mechmasher. Ramp up velocity if you can, I command. We must escape the current before that gun swings into range, thus urges the laboring drive to its limits. The Chimera yields with grudging momentum. Now, midway through the Ash River, the cabin's swelter grows almost intolerable, even for a start's endurance. Alert icons show the exterior plating nearing critical heat thresholds, nearly across, thus mutters, his focus unwavering. The Chimera's prow touches the far shore, its treads regaining solid footing. With fresh stability, we pick up speed and haul out of the flow. In our wake, the unmistakable boom of a battle cannon echoes. Heads up, Chiavos yells. The projectile slams into the ash stream right astern of us. The blast hurls a surge of glowing slag across the Chimera's tail end. Alloy wails as it deforms. The drive falters, then quits entirely, its vents overloaded, but inertia propels us onto firm terrain, and beyond the hazard, we roll to a halt. The Chimera, now a charred and deformed ruin belching smoke, yet we've surmounted the divide. Across from us on the near bank, the war boss bellows in rage, barred from instant pursuit. "Report!" I snap. "Drive unit ruined," thus confirms. The Chimera's journey ends here. Brother Menace remains breathing, though Chiavos notes his state worsens. The blaze has aggravated his wounds. I render yet another tough call. We press ahead afoot. The relay outpost lies roughly 20 kilometers northward. At peak enduring stride, we'll arrive prior to the planet's sunrise. "Brother Sergeant," Chiavos ventures cautiously, "your wounds are of no concern." I silence him. "You will bolster Brother Menace. Brother thus will aid me." We depart immediately before the orcs locate a ford. They offer no protest. With disciplined precision, we abandon the wrecked Chimera. Thus aids my rise on my lone remaining leg, my limb draped over his frame. Chiavos likewise steadies Brother Menace, who has slipped into fevered mutterings once more. Thus, we embark on the harshest trek of my extended tenure. 20 kilometers over ash wastes, wounded and lightly equipped, with pursuit inevitable. Each stride unleashes waves of agony through my impaired augmetics. Each inhalation, pain sears through my pierced lung. Yet I press on undeterred. I possess iron resolve. I persist. We set a steady rhythm, modest by Astarte's measures, yet surpassing what baseline humans could achieve even at their finest. The ash wastes extend endlessly ahead, barren save for scattered boulders and the faint silhouette of peaks far to the north. For 3 hours, we advance undisturbed. Then, Chiavos, equipped with his augmented optic for superior scouting, picks up activity in our rear. "Orcs," he verifies. "They forded the Ash River about 4 kilometers ago, swift light transports closing in." I evaluate our spot. We've traversed almost halfway to the outpost, but we're still out in the vulnerable flatland. No nearby ridges or barriers for cover present themselves. We push forward. I call for top velocity immediately. Should they overtake us here? We'll fight on this exposed ground. We accelerate, straining our wounded forms to the brink. Brother Mina trips often now, his state deteriorating plainly. The gap to our trackers narrows relentlessly. After 1 more kilometer, thus detects an anomaly up front. "Ruins," he announces, "relics of imperial build half entombed in the drifts." I zoom in my cybernetic lens toward his pointing direction. True enough, the skeletal frame of what looks like an old imperial outpost emerges from the gray dust roughly 2 kilometers distant. Not our planned stop, but it might serve as a stronghold. "Shift heading," I command. We veer toward the buried site. Our path angles just a bit, straight for the shadowed edifice. In pursuit, the orc machines keep eating up the distance. I figure they'll hit us right as we reach the debris. Another choice looms. "Brothers," I declare, my tone firm amid the agony of each step. "We won't escape their grasp. Kivos, you're the most intact. Escort Brother Mina to the ruins at full tilt. Thus, and I will hold them back." Kivos starts to protest. "That's a direct order, brother. The objective is getting intel on this orc horde back to the chapter. At least one of us needs to make it with that data." Kivos meets my eyes briefly, then gives a crisp nod. "Iron within, iron without, Brother Sergeant. Iron within, iron without," I reply. "Move out." Kivos tightens his hold on the dazed Mina and launches into an enhanced sprint, surging forward fast. Thus aids me in pivoting to confront the chasers, now rising as hazy storms on the skyline. A fitting conclusion, Brother Sergeant, he remarks, priming his orc cleaver. If the Emperor decrees it, I counter, then, after a beat, Brother Thus, you ought to join them. No sense in us both perishing out here. Thus glances at me, his features hidden by the helm's impassive faceplate. He unclips it, exposing a visage more cybernetic than organic. Prosthetic mandible, synthetic left optic, steel reinforcements fused to his cranium. No, Brother Sergeant, he states plainly. The flesh may fail, but brotherhood prevails. Those words hit me harder than expected. In my years among the Iron Hands, I've chased the chapter's ideal of cybernetic supremacy with unwavering zeal. I've swapped sound tissue for implants, convinced it elevated me, made me superior, more fit to honor the Emperor. I've measured my brethren by their upgrades, linking chrome to value. But now, facing the finish, it's not the machinery fueling Thus's resolve, it's a deeper essence. One I've maybe overlooked in my drive for unyielding flawlessness. The orc rides draw near. Near enough to make out 3 buggies and a pack of war bikes, no trace of their war boss, a minor blessing at least, thus steadies me against a jagged outcrop, letting me level the loned bolter. 7 shells left. 7 foes felled, should the Emperor steady my hand. It's been a privilege, Brother Thus, I say, true feeling surging in my words. The privilege was mine, Brother Sergeant Veron, he returns. Then, with rare softness, the chapter will honor our stand. The orcs enter firing distance. My opening bolt punches through the foremost biker's head, exploding in a burst of verdant gore. The next swerves to dodge the tumbling corpse and plows straight into my follow-up blast. 3 shells remain. Thus steals for the initial buggy's charge, its rough prow aimed to skewer him. At the final instant, he dodges with machine precision, swinging the cleaver in a mighty sweep that lops the driver's limb clean off. The contraption veers wildly, smashing into stone. The trailing buggy screeches to a stop, its crew piling out for close-quarters brawl. 5 greenskins, loaded with weapons, fan wide to encircle us. I expend my 4th bolt to vaporize the obvious chief's cranium, then pivot for the 5th to drop another. The 6th claims a 3rd as it lunges it Thus from the flank. 1 shot stays, Thus shines in the fray despite his uneven limbs. The augmetics, attuned to his raging combat zeal, align seamlessly with his actions. He hacks apart 1 greenskin, followed by a 2nd. Emerald ichor splatters over his plating. For an instant, fleeting and illogical, I think we could pull through. Then the 3rd buggy surges over a close ash ridge, revealing the pilfered heavy bolter affixed to its chassis, its muzzle already whirring to life. Tharnus is locked in combat with the remaining orc from the 2nd vehicle, his rear exposed to the fresh danger. I possess just 1 bolt cartridge left. Moments stretch as I choose. With utter precision, I lift the bolter and unleash my last shot. Not toward the foes battling Tharnus, but straight into the heavy bolter's ammo chute. The projectile erupts within the loader, triggering a cascade that obliterates the gun and the buggy beneath it. Tharnus finishes his adversary with a savage downward blow, then pivots to behold the ruin of the 3rd buggy. He inclines his head toward me in recognition of the marksmanship, then stiffens as additional orc rides materialize on the distant line. More inbound, he states pointlessly. I toss aside the depleted bolter. How numerous. Far too many, truly. A full armada of orc machines barrels forward, a blend of buggies, cycles, and bigger haulers. Leading them is the war boss astride its commandeered Lehman Russ, the tank's main gun swiveling upward in readiness to unleash. We've accomplished our task, brother, I informed Tharnus. Kaios and Menos ought to have arrived at the ruins already. Our mission is complete. Tharnus agrees with a nod, positioning himself next to me, cleaver poised for action, even as we recognize it won't alter the outcome against the oncoming horde. Last thoughts, Brother Sergeant? I ponder the query. Across my years of duty, I've committed to memory innumerable litanies and invocations, creeds and strategic maxims, yet nothing fits the hour. Rather, I circle back to the insight that hit me amid my clash with the orc knob. The body isn't frailty, Brother Tharnus. I declare at length, it defines our humanity, even in our enhanced state, and ultimately, it's that human essence the Emperor bids us safeguard beyond mere power. Tharnus reflects on this, then dips his head gradually. A fitting valediction, Brother Sergeant. The war boss's tank pauses at 500 meters. The battle cannon roars. I've long speculated on the manner of my demise. For the Iron Hands, perishing in war is anticipated, even welcomed. Yet I'd envisioned it otherwise, maybe in a heroic assault or defending a vital spot until the end, or felling a formidable rival even as they felled me. Instead, I observed the projectile curve in our direction with flawless machine-like composure. No terror, no remorse, just an odd fulfillment, as though a puzzle pursued through my whole tenure has at last resolved. The shell strikes 20 meters from us. Existence flashes brilliant, then void. I am gone. I have to be. Still, consciousness stirs anew. Agony surges back. The grit of cinders in my windpipe, the copper tang on my tongue, the alerts blinking on my helmet's readout. I endure, though comprehension dawns slowly. My sight sharpens bit by bit. I'm partially entombed in soot, hurled afar by the blast that consumed Brother Tharnes. No trace remains. The orc rides draw nearer, near enough to discern lone greenskins perched on their decks or clinging to the flanks. The war boss's tank holds its fire, likely conserving shells with triumph all but certain. Then another form intrudes on my view. A boot, ceramite, imperial make, though battered and marred. I trace the limb higher, verifying the inconceivable. Another, Astartes, not from my chapter, but a fighter in alien markings, ebony armor edged in ivory, an ivory skull upon the pauldron. Brother Sergeant Vonin of the Iron Hands, the warrior inquires, his tone issuing from a plain helmet. Affirmative, I reply, my vox straining to articulate. I am Brother Lieutenant Carvis, Kill Team Obsidian. We picked up your beacon. Beacon? It clicks. The outpost we aimed for. Kaios must have made it there, triggered the distress call, but how did the Death Watch arrive so swiftly? Anticipating my confusion, Carvis presses on, Otani quote 59. He signals, and two further Death Watch Astartes emerge, hoisting me with measured power. As they elevate me, the full scene unfolds. A Death Watch strike cruiser looms overhead, its outline iconic. Drop pods and thunderhawks scar the terrain. Scores of obsidian-clad Marines clash with the orc host, their custom armaments shredding the Xenos with ruthless precision. My squadmates, I urge, two left. They made the ruins first, secured. Carvis assures me both persist, though the one named Menos' relief surges through me at the news, a feeling I'd have once dismissed as frailty, but now welcome fully. As for Brother Tharnes, Carvis pauses. There were no additional survivors discovered here. Brother Sergeant, my regrets. I process the report calmly. Reason dictates that Tharnes couldn't have endured the shell's blast so near. Still, I resist yielding to that without proof. I need to locate him, I declare, straining against the hold of the Death Watch Marine. Brother Sergeant, your wounds, Carvis starts to say. I need to locate him, I insist again, summoning every ounce of command in my voice. After a brief pause, Carvis signals his squad, who assist me upright on my one good leg. We'll conduct a search, he yields. But make it swift. The war boss is mustering its horde for a push, bolstered between the pair of Death Watch Marines. I survey the terrain. The explosion has carved a modest depression ringed by strewn wreckage and soot. No clear signs of a space marine at first glance. Then it catches my eye, a gleam of alloy amid the dust, catching the faint light. I guide the Marines that way. Closer inspection reveals more from the haze, shards of ceramite, scraps of a power unit, and at last, a armored fist jutting from the pile. Right there, I indicate. The Death Watch Marines support me over. We clear the soot from what's left of Brother Tharnes. The impact has ravaged much of his frame. His lower limbs are missing. His torso plating lies in ruins. The tissues inside are beyond recognition. Yet, astonishingly, his helm and right pauldron hold together mostly. Most startling, his gaze is alert. As I draw near, it locks onto mine. Brother Sergeant, he rasps, his words faint even to my augmented senses. You're still with us, as am I, brother? I reply, awed by his resolve. From the wreckage of his vox grill comes a gurgling noise. It dawns on me it's a chuckle. Won't be much longer, he states. Vital systems shutting down, but I caught your words on the flesh. I incline my head, resting my lone hand on his shoulder guard. The flesh isn't frailty, no frailty, he concurs. His vision dims, energy ebbing, yet iron. Iron persists. With that, the spark leaves his eyes. Brother Tharnas, seasoned warrior of the Iron Hand's 5th Company, joins the Emperor's ranks. Iron within, iron without, I whisper, sealing his lids with careful digits. The Deathwatch Marines afford me a beat of silence, then urge haste. Brother Sergeant, evacuation now. The war boss approaches. I glance skyward to observe the orc masses reforming, shaking off the shock of the Deathwatch's sudden intervention. Leading them, the hulking silhouette of war boss Mech Marta looms atop its vehicle, bellowing commands to its swarm. Its cybernetic optic appears to spot me through the chaos, the crimson glow pulsing once. Get me to the rally point, I instruct the Marines, but prior, aid in reclaiming his gene seed. We carry out the holy rite jointly, extracting the progenoid from Brother Tharnas's form. The chapter's heritage safeguarded, despite the loss. Next, they partly hoist, partly haul me to a Thunderhawk idling nearby, its thrusters already warming for a swift exit. Boarding, I cast a final look over the field. The Deathwatch enacts a tactical retreat under fire, their order flawless as they withdraw in tight formations. The orcs press on in their frenzied style, fixated on charging ahead rather than any strategy. The Thunderhawk ascends, engines thundering as it surges into the smoke-choked heavens. From the unsealed ramp, I observe the orc tide overwhelming our former spot. The war boss towers above, its enhanced bulk clear even from afar. It tilts its head toward our fleeing vessel, and briefly I sense irritation in its stance. The ramp seals, blocking the sight. I'm led to a restraint harness and fastened by the Deathwatch Marines, my broken state demanding extra care. Nearby, fellow Thunderhawks ascend from Karthos Prime's crust, ferrying away the remnants of the kill team's mission. Brother Sergeant Vaughn, someone calls. I pivot to face a Deathwatch apothecary nearing, his plate etched with the emblematic heel signs of his role. I'm Brother Apothecary Neuros. I must steady your state before docking with the strike cruiser. I assent, permitting his assessment of my grievous harms. His actions are exact and streamlined, delivering urgent medici aids to my direst gashes. I observe impassively that he prioritizes the flesh wounds ahead of my inert bionics. Your main heart has taken grievous damage, he reports matter-of-factly. I've injected boosters and binders to sustain it, though you'll need major reconstruction on the ship. Your bionic links indicate major augment degradation. Orc interference has triggered swelling around multiple junctions. The orcs, I mutter, pushing the syllables past faulty voice units. What intel do you possess on their numbers? The apothecary halts his efforts briefly, eyeing me thoughtfully. That's beyond my role, Brother Sergeant. My focus remains on your healing. Still, I press on. I need to understand. He wavers for a second before resuming his care, speaking as he goes. Based on reports, the orc contingent on Karthos Prime marks a notable advance in greenskin tech fusion. Warboss Mech Smasher has engineered remarkably intricate cybernetics, surpassing the norms for even elite orc machines. The Ordo Xeno suspects this stems from interrogating seized Imperial tech priests. That aligns with what I witnessed. They were dissecting our methods. I explained to him the Iron Hands in particular, our cybernetic enhancements, our blend of organic and mechanical. So I've heard, he concedes. Your fellow survivors have already submitted initial accounts. The Inquisition expects a thorough interrogation once you're steady. The prospect of their probe stirs a cold dread in me, unrelated to my wounds. Their examination can prove as perilous as any Xenos peril. The other casualties, I inquire. Brothers Chiavos and Menace, their status? Brother Chiavos holds steady. His implant failures can be mended. Brother Menace, the apothecary, falters. His neural injuries run deep. The cerebral harm might exceed our remedial capacities. Should he pull through, he could be unfit for frontline duty ever again. I take in this detail with somber resignation. 3 left from a 12-man squad. A grim tally by strategic standards, yet against the foe we encountered, it might border on the miraculous. Your chapter has been alerted, the apothecary adds. The Iron Hands will send a ship to collect you, your comrades, and the salvaged gene seed. The Iron Hands, my lineage, my kin. I ponder how they'll absorb tidings of our setback, how they'll weigh my battlefield epiphanies on our creed. The Iron Fathers rarely brook challenges to orthodoxy. The rest of the journey unfolds quietly as the apothecary toils. I hover in and out of full alertness, caught between oblivion and vague perception. My bolstered biology and his interventions sustain me against wounds that would fell lesser men repeatedly. Full lucidity hits as I lie in the medica chamber of the Deathwatch assault cruiser. The room thrums with cutting-edge gear, servitors gliding soundlessly amid care pods. Straps bind me to an operating slab, a web of conduits and sensors linked to my ravaged body. He's awake, someone observes. A space marine clad in the Deathwatch's ebon plate draws near, face bared. His traits scream ultramarine stock, stately resolute lineaments bearing Gilliman's genetic echo. "I am Captain Titus, leader of this kill team," he states. "You're lucky, Brother Sergeant Vaughn. Rare is the warrior who endures prolonged greenskin imprisonment." "Luck played no part, Captain," I counter. My tone firmer now, the medici salves mending portions of my speech apparatus. It was the Emperor's decree and my squad's devotion. Titus inclines his head, granting the point. Naturally, the Deathwatch salutes their valor. He lingers, gaze sharp and probing. The Iron Hand's craft world, blood of iron, has answered our psychic summons. They'll link up in roughly 72 hours to ferry you and your remaining kin. 3 days. 3 days until I confront my chapter, detail our route, the near-total erasure of the 5th Company. Detail my deviations. "I owe the Deathwatch my thanks for your timely aid, Captain," I say earnestly. "Absent your strike, no one would have lived to carry intelligence home." "We enact the Emperor's design," Titus replies plainly, "as every Astartes must." He pauses, then presses on. "Brother Sergeant, your battle brother Kiavos has relayed an early summary of your ordeal, the Orc's peculiar fixation on Iron Hand's augmentations. The Ordo Xenos views this as alarming. I figured as much. That war boss had jury-rigged itself with rough echoes of our enhancement tenets. It discoursed on our tenets with insight no greenskin ought to command." Titus's face hardens. Then the Inquisition's suspicions hold. The Xenos scum are advancing their mechanical prowess, maybe tailored to thwart the Iron Hands. This data must reach your chapter's command. I'll deliver every detail, I vow. "I'm certain you will," he affirms, then shifts gears. "The apothecaries report your bionic limb defies field salvage with available resources. Resources on this ship are limited. The control panel suffered too much damage. Likewise, your limb demands a total overhaul. Such operations must be postponed until you reach your chapter's facilities." I incline my head in agreement with this evaluation. Moreover, your main heart has steadied, yet remains frail. You'll require a prolonged healing phase, perhaps involving forced dormancy to promote tissue renewal. Once more, your chapter's healers, versed in your unique enhancements, are best suited for this. In essence, I survive, but am nowhere near battle fitness. This realization grates even as I grasp its importance. A Space Marine's purpose is warfare. Healing, though essential, strikes as a kind of shortcoming. "Sleep for now, Brother Sergeant," Captain Titus suggests. Part is quote 61. He offers a deferential bow and exits, abandoning me to my reflections and the subtle motions of the medical servitors. The following 72 hours slip by in a haze of therapies, fleeting moments of awareness, and extended bouts of drugged slumber. In my alert intervals, I share whatever details I can with the Deathwatch analysts, outlining the Orc hordes, their strategies, and crucially, their odd mechanical innovations. I exchange words once with Brother Chaos. He endured less harm than I did bodily. His wounds milder, his implants less disrupted by Orc meddling. Yet I detect a troubling dimness in his gaze, absent prior to our imprisonment. "The Iron Fathers must learn all of it, Brother Sergeant," he mentions in our brief exchange concerning the Orcs. "Their fixation on our cybernetics, and the statements you made amid the fray." Thus, he relayed my remarks, my doubts about the chapter's fundamental tenets. I'm neither startled nor resentful. It's his obligation. "I'll convey the full truth to them, brother," I reply. "Every part." Chaos inclines his head, face impassive. "The flesh is weak," he intones, as if probing. I meet his stare firmly. But brotherhood persists, I counter, repeating thus his dying utterance instead of the customary reply. Chaos falls silent, though I note doubt in his eyes as he departs. By the third day, word arrives that the blood of iron has docked. The Death Watch medical team readies me and the other survivors for relocation, strapping us into custom cryo chambers for the voyage to the Iron Hands craft. As they seal my pod, I spot dark-clad warriors stepping into the med bay. Not Death Watch, but Iron Hands, their plate etched with the signature symbols of the Iron Fathers, the chapter's mystic tech overseers. Their personal attendance signals the gravity they attach to this. The cryo shroud engages, and awareness dissolves again. I rouse in known environs, the apothecarian of an Iron Hand strike cruiser, the Blood of Iron, a Deliverance-class vessel tied to the 5th Company. My unit, or its remnants, Iron Father Karna looms by my cot, his visage more mechanism than mortal, features obscured by his vast prosthetics. I once viewed his form as ideal, the ultimate fusion of organic and artificial. Now my perspective shifts, though I conceal this insight. Brother Sergeant Vaughn. He addresses me, tone of flat synthetic hum. You've rejoined the chapter. Through the Emperor's mercy, Iron Father, I answer with protocol. Yes, he examines me, cybernetic optics humming as they lock on. Your wounds are profound. The apothecaries project 6 months of convalescence before resuming frontline service. Extended further, should we pursue the complete suite of suggested upgrades. 6 months, a vast span for a space marine. Still, I remain mute, embracing the prognosis with resolute calm. Your fellow survivors have submitted comprehensive debriefs on the Carthos Prime incident. Karna proceeds. Itero quote 62. The interrogation looms, the verdict, the dispassionate tally of defeat. I'm ready to offer a complete report, Iron Father, I state. No need for that just yet, he counters, catching me off guard. Your mending comes first. That said, one issue demands immediate attention. His implants narrow sharply. Brother Kaivas relayed specific debates from your imprisonment and breakout, namely, inquiries into our chapter's foundational creed. I weigh my words with care. Denial tempts, attributing it to ordeal or orc interference clouding my mind. The Iron Fathers could buy that, but it'd ring false. I challenge the creed that the flesh is weak. I admit plainly, rooted in my own reflections on the orcs' endurance, their toughness born solely from biology, and their rough yet potent imitation of our cybernetic methods. Iron Father Karna remains quiet for an extended pause. When he finally responds, his voice stays steady. The Greenskins' fascination with our cybernetic beliefs raises alarms. It points to an unprecedented advancement in their tech savvy, something unheard of for their kind. The Iron Council views this as a major danger to both the chapter and the Imperium at large. He's sidestepping the issue, shifting to tactical concerns instead of tackling my challenge to their teachings. I push further. Iron Father, if I may, the core issue persists. If organic matter is inherently frail, how could beings of raw meat and primal urges overrun the 5th Company? How did they seize our holy cybernetic ideals and wield them back at us? Karna's mechanical gaze adjusts once more as he examines me. You're misinterpreting our creed, Brother Sergeant. The adage, the flesh is weak, goes beyond mere bodily contrasts. It speaks to the pitfalls of feelings, uncertainty, and the organic brain's pull toward illogic. Machines offer reason, steadiness, dependability, and yet I retort. It was those very sentiments that sustained my squad and me amid the chaos. Camaraderie, resolve, even terror harnessed right. Those supposed flaws fueled our survival when reason urged giving up. A fleeting irregularity, Karna brushes it off, the outlier that validates the principle. I hold my tongue. Arguing further is futile. The Iron Fathers have upheld their tenets across 10,000 years. One skirmish won't sway them, though it has reshaped my own views. Recover, Brother Sergeant, Iron Father Karna instructs, evidently ending the exchange. Once you're fit enough, the Iron Council expects your complete debrief. For now, concentrate on mending. The chapter needs you back in action. He starts to exit, then halts. The gene seed retrieved from your lost comrades has been handled correctly. Their loss endures through the next waves of Iron Hands. At least that was executed properly. With this sparse approval, he exits, abandoning me to my musings. 6 months. 6 months of healing, prosthetic swaps, bodily retraining. 6 months to ponder the horrors I endured on Carthos Prime and their impact on my duty to the chapter. The Iron Hands will never abandon their central creed. In their sight, flesh stays feeble, machines eternally dominant. It's the bedrock of who we are, our battle tactics, our survival. Yet as I rest here, sensing aches in my leftover natural tissues and the numb void from my implants, I realize I've evolved. That trial has altered me deeper than any mechanical upgrade possibly could. I shall continue serving. I shall battle on. I shall perish if it serves the Emperor and the Imperium. But I'll no longer see my human essence as a flaw to purge. It might just be our sole genuine power. Flesh endures agony. Indeed, it spills blood. It breaks down. It perishes. But it also senses loyalty, bravery, tenacity. It grasps meaning. Machines simply perform. The orc boss perished grinning, welcoming death as the peak of an existence true to its savage core. Could any of us, burdened with our implants, our tech edge, our unyielding creed, boast the same? I am Brother Sergeant Vin of the Iron Hands. I've stared defeat in the eyes and discovered not frailty, but our shared humanness. The Iron Fathers would label this blasphemy. Maybe it qualifies. Yet it's my reality. Hammered out in Carthos Prime's fires, hardened by my brother's spilled lifeblood, and more robust than any graft they could bolt onto my decaying form. Flesh isn't frailty. It's the essence that keeps us human amid a universe forever eroding our souls. And in that bleak void of distant tomorrows, amid endless conflict, maybe that's the sole triumph we can ever seize.